Hello, and just adding a little bit to our menu. Just going to add, this is going to be a little tutorial on particle effects. So I'm going to add in a little sort of a fire, I think, down here. So what will we do? We will go in here to Chrome, if it'll open. Here we go. And we're going to type in CC search, and we will type in fire texture and Google Images and see what we get. Now, the image that we want here is something like this, that is kind of self-contained inside. So this sort of is touching the top, so we'll get kind of a cut-off at the top. So this is not too bad. We could probably use one of these. So we'll take this here and we'll save this. So we'll go save images, and we'll on our desktop we have our Dungeon folder, and we'll place this texture fire. So we'll place that there. Now over here we have there's our materials, and inside we've got textures. So I'm going to import new asset, go to my desktop, and Dungeon, we find that image. There it is there. So we have our fire. Now we want to create a particle system. I can just click particle system here, and it's basically created an empty with a particle system on it. So first things we'll do, we'll position this. So we want it that height there, and we want it in this sort of pit, shall we say, coming out of it. Now, so let's try and set this up as best we can. So first things first. So there are a lot of settings for particle systems. So let's get this, try and do this as best we can. So the duration doesn't really matter if we've got looping turned on. So start delay, lifetime. So lifetime is how long the particles exist for. So let's say 1.5, I think. So they'll only go up so high. And we'll leave the star speed for now. Maybe we'll increase it to 10, just for. You can see obviously it's increased the number of particles being instantiated. And our start color, we will change that to sort of a deep orange. And our start size, will make them a little bit bigger. Okay. Now, we can tweak all these a bit later. The maximum particles is 1,000, and we definitely want to play and awake, so that once the scene starts, it'll run. So when we go to emissions, if we increase this to say 30, you can see we've got a lot more coming up here. So maybe we won't go that. We might as well go to 20. We'll close up emissions, and then shape. By default, you can see it's a cone here. So we have all sorts of controls over the cone. We can change the shape and make it a sphere, but you can see they are emitted in all directions. So for what we're doing, cone is appropriate. And the angle of the cone, will narrow it, and we will make the radius a little bit smaller as well. So now we have something that's a little bit more fire-like, although it's still not right. Next thing we want is size over lifetime. So it's just this one here. We need to turn it on by clicking this. We'll open up this little box here, and then if I zoom out here, this will be a bit more clarity. So I'm going to drag this down, and hopefully you can see that the size of the particles are getting smaller over their lifetime. So that's, and then I can bring this back this way and actually control control the size of the flame, so higher and lower. Okay, so that's important. And then we can also, rotation over lifetime is, changes to about 60, I think. If we were to move in the scene, that'll be more interesting. We'll close that up. We're going to take our fire texture here and drag it onto our particle system. And now we have our images being used, but that's obviously not how we want it to look. So we're going to change the shader that's being used to a particle shader, and we're going to pick additive. And that's our fire now. And there are two that will work here. Additive soft will give you a gentler, sort of more transparent fire. And then what we can play with then is sort of the size of the texture that we're using, and tweak how this looks. But as fires go as a starting point, that's not too bad at all.